3 o'clock on this Friday afternoon. Happy Memorial Day weekend, y'all. Welcome aboard the Postgame Show. Alongside Elijah Campbell, I'm Jay Phillips. Is this the first ever week? Well, no, I guess Monday we had a whole show.
We did. We did the full 3 to 6 on Monday.
But I can't recall in my career having 4 of 5 days be abbreviated for like the same thing. In this case, baseball.
We got close in the early baseball season when they were playing earlier games, like in mid or late February.
Yeah, we'd have a Tuesday and a Friday, which were early. So that's only 2 though. So yeah, and then
not even half.
Maybe
a week.
Help me out. SEC basketball tournament, maybe.
SEC basketball tournament. Yep.
Had 2, but not 4.
Right.
Not 4.
Because I remember I had to do one show in Nashville from the Cumulus station out there.
Yep.
Did one from their auxiliary studio, and then South Carolina won the next day. So I guess that was 2 shows we had.
Yeah, I think it was 2.
We had back-to-back where we were not on air because they won the first one.
But like this week, Tuesday we had, seriously, not quite 11 minutes. Wednesday we had not quite a half hour. Yesterday we did a near full show.
We did hours yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday we had 2 full hours plus the top of the 5. And then today we'll have about 45 minutes. Not quite.
Oh, not even.
Not even.
Yeah. Well, we're hard out at 41, baby. It's going to be tough.
Many of you just heard us talking at the end of the halftime show, and Elijah comes in now. You know, South Carolina falls last night, 11-10. Former Gamecock Michael Braswell ends up being the difference maker at the end for LSU. But really, it was the 8th inning defensive miscues that you want back. You had the throwing error from Lee Croy. You had the mental mistake from Casas, and it's just they just compounded upon each other, and you can't have that. You just can't, you know. And you and I were talking about this for a team that has scored 26 runs, has gotten some better than expected pitching, and look, again, last night a lot of unearned runs to close the gap, and that's unfortunate. But Carolina's made a lot of defensive miscues this week, be they actual errors or really the ones that are even bigger killers, in my opinion, in this sport, and that's the mental ones. And that's what happened last night. I texted you last night. I was like, you got to knock that ball down. That's it. That's just you. And he knows it. Everybody on the team knows it. Anybody that knows this sport knows it. You've got to knock that ball down, period. You may not get the out. You may let a run come by. But you can't let that ball get past you into the outfield where another one can score. I mean, and I say you can't, but you did. So, and that wasn't the difference maker. You still gave up 2 more later, but those were big. Those were really, really, really big. And so here we are. The good news is you get to play again. The good news is you are going today to play the number 1 team in the country. And really the RPI is what matters now. I don't know if, and there's a few other metrics. Is Kentucky number 1 in the KPI? Like, I don't know if they are or not today.
I haven't seen the latest.
I didn't look at the KPI today, but the RPI, Kentucky's the number 1 team in the country. So losing last night, you've slipped out of the top 20 of the RPI, but that's okay. Carolina's going to the tournament, y'all. It's not that big a deal. Really now it's about seeding. And again, the only way you're going to host is if you win this thing, and even then you wouldn't be guaranteed it, but that's the only shot you have to be back into consideration for hosting next week is to win this tournament. And that's going to be tough for South Carolina to win 3 more baseball games with the pitching being what it is. I don't see how you can go around giving up 20 plus runs in the next 3 days and win. Now, that said, you're scoring a lot of runs. One of your 2 best players is as hot as he's maybe ever been.
And it's probably the MVP of this entire tournament.
So far.
There's not a single individual that is putting up the numbers that Cole has.
Tyler, I didn't realize. Tyler just told me he's already set a tournament record for RBI in 1 tournament.
Mm-hmm. In 3 games.
And you got a game to play. So
potentially more.
He
could shatter it.
This Coach Mangione today just going to tell his pitchers, hey, you know what? Either avoid him or hit him. One or the other.
Don't pitch to him. Don't feed. the monster.
Yeah, don't. I wouldn't if I'm Kentucky. Now, again, Kentucky, the only thing Kentucky is playing for, I mean, if they want to win this tournament, cool, but they're secure as a top 8 national seed. So I'll be interested to see what their pitching approach is today. I'm going to be interested to see what South Carolina's pitching approach is today. I mean, Carolina is running on pitching fumes, man.
They are. They're piecing it together.
Yeah, and I know some are disappointed with Veach from last night. I think if I'm not mistaken, you and I were talking this morning, and I don't have it in front of me right now, but I want to say that the pitch just before Braswell's game winner, and of course Carolina got their chance, but at least the go-ahead, was a 90-plus mile-an-hour fastball, which otherwise was surrounded by nothing but change-ups in the high 70s.
Which is ironic because the meaning of the word change-up means it's a change from the norm.
Right.
So more likely the fastball is technically
and just maybe a couple of more, but you had to figure after that fastball that you're sitting on the changeup. And if I'm a hitter, not just Braswell, and I know that makes it a little more difficult for some around here that Braswell was the guy. But any hitter is going to be sitting on a changeup after that fastball because that's what he'd been throwing. Now, do you throw another one? Do you try to throw a little curve or some slider out of the zone just to see what happens? I told Elijah I might throw a little chin music there, or even just something to keep a hitter guessing. But when they don't have to guess, more often than not, at this level and beyond, you're gonna find a way to make contact and get something done. And they did last night. But, look, it would have been nice to have today off. There's no question. And try to save those arms because then you might have had a seriously more realistic opportunity to win this tournament. And that would have been a big deal because I do think, and I know I'm not alone, I do think that had you won this event, and you might still, if you can win this event, you give the committee something to think about that's positive. Because one of the things, I know you and I have talked about it since we've been working together when it comes to the selection process in tournaments is don't give them anything to use against you. Far too often under Frank Martin, South Carolina men's basketball gave the committee a couple of things to use against them and not nearly enough to use for them. This year, you didn't necessarily give them anything to use against you with bad losses. You just got your butt kicked the last 2 weeks and took yourself out of contention, but you did it against 2 top 10 teams. So that's not something that you go like, that's not the basketball team losing to Wyoming and Stetson.
Right.
Kept
you from hosting. It didn't keep you out.
It didn't keep you out of the tournament. Right. That could have been an entirely different story. And again, I am one, like many of you around here, who hold this program to a standard of hosting. You should be a host every year. Now, again, you're not going to, and you need to figure out why when you don't. But when that should be your standard, and I won't let go of that. But look, they didn't get it done. But as I said, it was an entertaining game, man. If you like sports, it was a fun game for a 4-hour old school 1990s kind of baseball game.
If you like hitting, boy, do I have a game for you.
Yeah.
And unpredictability. That's, it overall was a really good baseball game last night. A heartbreaking way to lose it, and one that you're looking back on saying, you should have had that. But it was a entertaining baseball game. Tons of runs. No lead was safe for any team. And like I said, if you like hearing the ping of the bat, last night was I guess manna from the heavens for you because that was fun.
Did you get a chance to go back? I feel like we did predict the basic outcome of the game.
I didn't go back. Yeah, I didn't get to hear the part where we threw around some scores, but we said it would go a long time and they would score a lot of runs.
Yeah, we predicted 4 hours. I'm convinced of that. I could have sworn that we had said at some point on air that it was going to be 11-10. So I'm going to need you to check that. I know you are getting out of town for a holiday weekend, so you won't have time this weekend. But
I've got a 6-hour drive to and from.
Well, if you just want to listen to the show,
I can just go back and listen to our voices and double check. and then be able to clip that.
I wouldn't want to put that on you, man.
6 hours in a car by yourself is a long time. There's only so much live sports and podcasts I can listen to.
There's more to listen to than us, so don't do that to yourself. Just we'll find it a little bit later on. But game time is coming up for you at 3:45, or airtime, 3:45, and first pitch scheduled for just after 4 o'clock from Hoover, Carolina, and Kentucky. And we'll have some final details before we make way for Stuart and Derek coming up for you in just a little bit. If I may, I often ask you guys to indulge me about certain things, and I'm going to do that now. Yesterday, right as we left the air, we all got the news that longtime South Carolina men's golf coach Bill McDonald had been relieved of his duties. It was announced in a way that said that he would not be returning. We can all put two and two together. I'm not here to question that decision. That's not my place in a situation like this. But as many of you longtime listeners to my show, whether it's been here in the afternoon the last few months or the many, many years that I did the midday show, Bill McDonald became a staple with us. I don't know how many times Bill was on the air, whether it was with Michael Haney and me or with Tommy and me, and then with Terry. But as recently as last week, he was on with the PGA Championship. My hunch is somewhere between 75 and 100 times, because he started coming on with us our very first spring, back in the spring of 2008, which was only, I think, his second year here at Carolina. I think the world of Bill. Bill and his family have been through a lot. Bill's a cancer survivor. He's got a wonderful family. In 18 seasons, they went to the NCAA tournament 16 times. They advanced, I believe, 7 of those 16 times into the national championship round. And, you just like almost every other sport this conference plays, you are always going up against some loaded rosters. And there are some schools that really prioritize golf in a way. I'm not saying Carolina doesn't, but it's a tough league, man. Like any other sport, it's a tough league. And after 18 years, and I will tell you, full disclosure, I texted Bill yesterday, and, it's been a long time, and sometimes Steve Spurrier said it once, not that Bill and I talked about this, but, sometimes after a while, maybe it's just time for something else. Because they did advance. This was not a program that was, in what you might call decline, where they were not making the national tournament on a regular basis. They, 16 times in 18 seasons. That's a pretty good track record. And half of those you advanced, give or take. But I just want to send out my sincere best to Bill McDonald, because he was always so giving of his time to us. Mm-hmm. Dare I say, Elijah, even in the few instances that you've had to interact with him, with the Masters and the PGA, to put up with us and our hijinks, for lack of a better word.
He was a good sport. He played along.
He was, man. Because
always played along with it.
This is a head coach in the Southeastern Conference, and we're sitting here being radio schlubs, but he's going along with it. He was kind enough to introduce us to Trip Eisenhower of the Golf Channel, who's one of Bill's best friends. They played golf together in college at Georgia Tech, and they've been friends ever since. And, Trip's more used to the stupid stuff that we might do from time to time, because he's on, he's on national television all the time now as a former tour player. He gets it, but Coach, pulling for you. I know you'll land squarely on your feet very soon. You will continue to be our golf analyst, should you so choose. But I sincerely thank him for all he did for us, for what he did for the University of South Carolina. And I hope everything works out really well. But Bill McDonald is a gem of a human being, and I'm really pulling for him. Sorry to hear what happened. I get it, but you're the best, sir. So
I'll be a fan of whoever picks him up.
Yeah, no doubt. He's a great person. Coach Bill McDonald. All right, come back on the other side of the break. Huge news that is happening across college athletics. We'll discuss as the postgame show continues.
My wife and I were reminiscing about the fact that 26 years ago, we moved into our house, and about 22 years ago, we worked really hard over Memorial Day weekend to spruce some things up. And I say that to tell you that if you're a homeowner and you want to make some improvements, it's a great time to call Palmetto Citizens and take advantage of their fantastic rates when it comes to a home equity line of credit. You know, get things spruced up, use what you've already put into your house to your advantage. And with Palmetto Citizens, you can access a line of credit over a 10-year draw period so that as your family grows and your needs change, you can borrow the things you need right there without having one big lump sum to pay for. You can get lower rates and fewer fees, too. Check them out online, palmettocitizens.org. My wife and I are customers. We love them. Palmetto Citizens. Achieve your potential. Welcome back into the Postgame Show on this Friday afternoon. Happy Memorial Day weekend to all. Do remember what it is indeed all about. We'll be back with you on Tuesday, by the way. But those of you that are already heading out, I noticed our parking garage here was rather quiet for a Friday afternoon even.
Yeah, I would say not as full.
Yeah.
As it normally is.
That's right. So some people getting out. One of my daughters is heading to the beach. I didn't get invited.
Boo.
I know, right? But that's okay. I made up for it. I told Elijah I went to the store earlier today, and I bought a lot of meat. I bought about a 9-pound Boston butt that I'm going to do tomorrow. I bought a rack of ribs. I bought a big Hoss pack of chicken drumsticks. They had them for like $1.50 a pound, man. I'm like, well, I'm just going to get the whole thing. I'm not going to eat all of them. I'll freeze some of them, cook those later. What else did I get? I got hot dogs just in case somebody wanted hot dogs at the house. And I'll freely admit they had a buy one, get one free Ben and Jerry's pints.
Ooh, dangerous. The little pints are dangerous.
I got 4.
I'm not going to lie. When I worked at a Target back during college, there were a couple times where I would use my lunch break where I already had, food beforehand.
Sure.
I'll just go buy a pint of Ben and Jerry's ice cream, sit in the workroom, and down that sucker in one sitting.
Yeah.
But don't ask me how I felt afterwards.
Yeah, but buy one, get one. I even told one of my daughters who's still here, I was like, I think I might have to go back and get some more before they sell out.
Which ones did you get? That's the real question.
I got,
what flavor of these did you get?
What did I get? I got the one with the s'mores. I forget all the kitschy name. Well, I got Cherry Garcia.
Okay.
I got the s'mores one. I got something with chocolate mousse.
Oh.
Which sounded really good.
Interesting.
And salted caramel brownie, I think, was the other one.
Ooh. See, I've had the salted caramel core one, which is a big old glob of caramel in the middle of this ice cream, and it is phenomenal.
Yeah, those are the ones I got.
With a bunch of little caramel.
But I may go back and get some more.
Oh, it's so
again, 2 for 1, man. I mean, it's kind of dumb not to, right?
Well, yeah. You would be kicking yourself if you didn't. You saw that, left the store, and didn't get at least 2.
NCAA member institutions probably won't be able to afford going back to get extra ice cream now that the new settlement has basically been agreed to.
Or at least that's what they tell you.
Yeah. We call that
can't afford ice cream anymore.
I call that a segue in the business. The NCAA Power 5 conferences and Power 5 conferences have agreed now. The SEC and the Pac-12/Pac-2 did vote yesterday.
The remnants.
To go along with the NCAA Board of Governors, the ACC, the Big Ten, the Big 12. So this is now basically a done deal. What happens next is the lawyers for the plaintiffs will put some things together. It will go before Judge Claudia Wilkin out in California, who's been ruling on a lot of these antitrust situations for many, many years, most notably the Ed O'Bannon case that really got this ball rolling quickly a long time ago now. Again, I like to remind everybody that verdict was rendered in August of 2014, and it's taking this long for the schools to go, oh, I guess we should do something about it.
It's only been 10 years.
Then the whole class, I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not going to get into all the nuances of it, but, then the folks in the class have a chance to either accept what they're going to get or opt out or in some way object to what it is that they see. Part of this settlement does include looking forward. And here's the big thing, especially those of you around here who are college baseball fans. 11.7 has become the worst number in your brain because that's how many scholarships Division I baseball schools are allowed to give out, and everybody has to get a piece of something. Now, if you want to give a couple of kids full scholarships, you can. You're then dealing with the rest of the roster in 9.7, if you follow me. What's going to end up happening, we believe, not a done deal yet, Elijah, but what we believe is going to happen is that rather than have scholarship limitations in any sport, instead, there will be roster limitations. So the number of players on a team will be capped because what you don't want to see is going back to the old days. Let's just use football for a second instead of 11.7 in baseball. Let's use 85 in football. Back in the day, and I'll just use Bear Bryant in Alabama as one of the prime examples because they were one of the prime examples.
The chief violator.
Yes. They would give out like 120, 130 full football scholarships. And Bear did it, and Bama let him by basically saying, I don't want him going to Auburn and Georgia and Tennessee.
So he's just going to hoard them.
Yeah. They weren't going to play, and they seemingly didn't care, I guess.
They all weren't going to get jerseys either.
Yeah.
Only 2 digits on those bad boys. You ain't got enough for everybody.
But ultimately, enough schools got together and said, hey, come on. And so they capped the number of scholarships at 85, and it's been there ever since. Now, you can have walk-ons, but then, obviously, they're paying their way. So might you see, 85, as a cap in college football? Because I can't see that. I personally do not see the number of full scholarship availability going up in football to account for walk-ons. So you'll still probably have the 85 scholarships and walk-ons, but you can't give those kids. So whether it's a roster limit, I'll be curious about something with football. And really some of the other sports too. But baseball, you're going to see the SEC as quickly as possible. The ACC too, in my opinion, Big 12, immediately go to fully funding the entire roster. Yes, Title IX will come into play. It already does to a large degree. But I think that'll be a win because there's a lot of schools that can afford it.
Oh, we're going to find out the schools that have been able to do this all along, because when push comes to shove and it comes to survival of your athletic department, you're going to do it, right? If it means to get you an advantage, you're going to do it. So and I've seen a lot of stories about, especially from the Athletic or, Yahoo online, people talk about, the walk-on is going away. Is it good or bad, for college athletics? When really the walk-on's just not going away per se. More than likely they will just all get scholarships, which is better for the walk-on, the person who's normally a walk-on. They might not exist because they'll get their scholarship paid, to be able to play and not have to pay for schooling. Like, that's more than likely what we're going to end up seeing. Look, to give you just a hint of how much some of these schools are making, at the G5 level, like the entire Sun Belt Conference, as a whole, made well over $533.8 million last year. Mm-hmm. The Sun Belt Conference. Mm-hmm. You can't tell me we can't get a scholarship for all the players that are on those rosters.
Right.
Not buying it. They had a lot of scholastic athletic leaders would love to tell you that they can't. And there's not much we can do. But we're going to find out exactly how much our legs been being pulled.
Yeah.
When it comes to the future of this sport.
Well, and I've seen, this has been trickling around for a while now, so this is not the first time that we've heard this refrain from disgruntled fans out there. This is going to ruin college sports, and I can only come up with why. Mm-hmm. Why? And here, let me use an example. We have a friend whose daughter is on full scholarship at her college. Very, very smart, and I know her family's proud of her. As part of that, she also has a part-time job on campus, paid for by the school. Is that wrong? And I'm dead serious. Is that wrong? I mean, How many of you went to school and had a teaching assistant? How many of you went to school and had your RA on the hall, or a friend who worked at the campus bookstore, or in any other capacity around campus? Sure, I'm not talking about waiting tables somewhere or at a bar or whatever, but I mean, all those TAs, all those GAs, they're all in school and they're getting paid. How about GA assistant coaches? What's the difference? Mm-hmm. And I remind all of you about the exponential growth in revenue into college sports. Again, inflation has grown about 100% since the SEC first expanded with Carolina and Arkansas. Revenues into the Southeastern Conference have grown by about 1,000%. In that same 30-ish year time period. It's okay to share some of that. But again, when people say it's going to ruin it because these kids are there, they're in college, they can't get paid. Well, then why can a library assistant get paid? Why can an RA or a TA get paid?
I didn't enjoy history class less because the TA got paid.
That doesn't, again, it doesn't hold water.
Or hate it more.
I'm sorry that you think this is going to, quote, ruin it, but it's not. And again, if you are naive enough to believe that kids have never been paid in college sports, then I'll sell you my beachfront home in Omaha, Nebraska next week. Call me. All right?
I'll give your number out.
This is going to be okay, and we're all going to still pull for the old alma mater. Postgame show coming right back.
I've talked about the basketball and hockey action, the playoff basketball and hockey action, all playoff long with our friends at Prize Picks, but there's other sports you can get into as well, and I'm starting to get into them as well. I'm getting in on all the baseball action with our friends at Prize Picks. Same deal, just pick 2 to 6 player stat projections, watch those winnings roll in, and tonight I am all in on Aaron Judge with a hitter score of more than 8. The guy has been on a tear lately, one of the best hitters in all of baseball. It almost seems like too good of a deal to pass up. So I'm on that tonight. You can do the same thing. Just download the app today. Use promo code 1075GAME for first deposit match up to $100. That's promo code 1075GAME on Prize Picks for a first deposit match up to $100. And look, Prize Picks offers weekly promotions. They also do Apple Pay for quick and easy deposits into your account. And also, they have injury insurance. So if you have bad luck in a game where a player gets hurt, don't sweat it. Prize Picks has your back. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy.
Talking about the NCAA versus House settlement that is all but done now. Again, you got to do the formal dotting of I's, crossing of T's. That'll be done over the next couple of weeks. And I think by the end of July, 1st of August, a lot of these things can start to be implemented. I don't know the exact timelines. And there could be some hiccups along the way. Should there be objections from some of those that are members of a class action. So we'll have to wait and see. But those that are most important to this, that is the schools that are going to be paying for it, have all agreed. And the NCAA Board of Governors did vote on behalf of the membership, which, again, they do from time to time. I was kind of surprised by that. I didn't know if this was going to go to the full membership or not. So But you heard some schools kind of complaining about it. Speaking of complaints, the ACC at least has a couple of schools that have been complaining of late, but ACC revenue is up about 15% from last year to just under $45 million, $44.8 million to the 14 full sport members. Notre Dame gets about half that.
Fair.
Yeah.
Because they're holding out a lot in football money.
The SEC last year, or I guess, in the last payment to the SEC schools was about $51 million. So looking at about a $6 million difference. But to hear the ACC schools tell it, at least some of them.
You'd have thought they got robbed.
Yeah, you're getting like double.
Poor Florida State.
It's so
they only got $45 million on their TV payout.
They'll find a way. But again, I would urge the ACC to try to hold it together.
Poor Clemson. Oh,
yeah.
Bless their heart.
Try to hold
I don't know how they're going to survive, honestly. They only got $45 million from their conference.
Yeah.
How are they going to function, Jay?
I did see someone put out, I know, right? I did see somebody, and I thought this already, and I don't think it's
starving over there.
I don't think this is overly difficult. Maybe in theory, it doesn't seem difficult at all. In practice, it could be harder. But and I've thought of this before, by the way, but give like Clemson, Florida, give everybody. Hell, I don't care. Of course, then it might be all relative, but with the ACC deal, at least, give Clemson and Florida State like 2 commercials each per game and let them go sell it.
There you go.
Let
them earn it.
Yeah. I don't know what that comes up to. I'm just 2, 3 commercials. I don't know. Let them, we do live reads here. Let somebody, when Sean McDonough goes down to Death Valley for a game, let Sean do a live read for you.
That way they can keep the lights on because apparently they make it seem like they just don't have any money to be able to operate.
I mean, you pay Sean, like $200 for doing the read, then you keep the rest. I don't know. They're fine.
That's better than taking your conference to court over it.
Yeah, or blowing your conference up.
We only got $45
million. Find a way. Find a way. Real quick, earlier I was talking about Ben and Jerry's flavors. Charles says, come on, Jay, fish food is the flavor.
Fish food, nice.
No, fish food's great.
You're wearing a fish shirt. This is even more appropriate.
No, fish food's great, but I just, I've had fish food. I've had a lot of the flavors a lot. These are just the 4 I chose today. In fact, Charles, one of my children did ask me if I got fish food. I was like, nah. But again, I may go back, so maybe I'll get some fish food. It's a fine flavor.
Yeah,
I like the Tonight Dough.
Oh, that's a good one.
Really good.
Yeah, the Jimmy Fallon
there's
one.
Plenty
that's really good.
I like Chunky Monkey, the banana with chocolate. That's all. There's tons. They really don't make a bad flavor, in my opinion.
No, they don't make bad ice cream at all. Like they're not in that business.
Yeah, so I chose the 4 I felt like might be fun for everybody. Jack Veltri letting us know, I don't think we said it yet, but Dylan Eskew will be starting today. But Jack makes a great point. Who's going to pitch today? Eskew goes, but how long? His assessment is that Becker, Kimball, Gainey, and Merlot are really the only guys that you're going to have available today.
Oof. You got to get innings out of them.
And with Gainey and Becker, now Becker, I guess, hasn't thrown since Tuesday. So he should be able to give you something today.
You'd hope so.
Gainey,
you're going to need him to.
Gainey through, Wednesday, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, he could be available a little, but then you need to go ahead and win today. No question. But somewhere in the recesses of the mind, Mark and Matt are going to have to try to figure out, a little bit for tomorrow as well. But maybe you don't worry too much about it because you need to win today.
Live for today, baby.
Yeah. But maybe you just outscore Kentucky. Who knows?
That's a good formula to winning.
Yeah.
I like your chances.
Good stuff. Happy Memorial Day weekend to all. Go America. We are away on Monday, so we'll have full reaction to all the NCAA tournament news that comes out on Monday on Tuesday's programs. Be safe out there. Have fun. For Elijah, I'm Jay. We'll see you. Enjoy baseball. Coming up.